I'm Phyllis Lerner, and I was one of the early founding members with Winston of the Historical Society, and then I followed. Winston was our first president. I became the second president for 4 years, and then Alan is our third president. And hello, Ira. I was born out here, and I grew up in Hartley Circle, which is like a stone's throw from Beverly Hills. We always played at the park. My mother told me never to swim at the swimming pool at the park because you could get polio. Right. But I went to Hartley Circle School, and my children still to this day, every time they see a pink school, they think that was the school. You know, no matter where it is or what country we're in, this is that the school you went to? But I moved away when I was new married, and I moved back when I had 2 children. When my children were 1 and 2 years old, we moved back to Beverly Hills, which is now 26 years ago. I looked for 2.5 years. After 2.5 years, we bought our house on Linden Drive, and we were the first young family to buy a house there. Everybody else were grandparents, and the children would come and visit. And we were, I thought, gee, did we make a mistake? Because we had these babies. And the first day I moved in, the lady next door brought an apple pie. And I thought she was my neighbor. She turned out to be the black housekeeper from next door. And I didn't know, that she was bringing an apple pie. She welcomed me to the neighborhood. And then the black chauffeur from across the street brought flowers and welcomed me to the neighborhood. I thought he was my neighbor. And then I found out, he was the chauffeur for this 104-year-old lady who lived across the street. I thought it was a nice tradition. I was really impressed. And every time someone new moved in, I was dying to see if the young people were moving in. So I took an apple pie. I made more apple pies. Within the first year that I moved in, there were 23 young children under the age of 12 that moved into on the block. And so it was kind of nice. We kind of changed the makeup of the neighborhood, but it was nice, and we set our own traditions, and our house was kind of a nucleus for the neighborhood because of all the kids that came and went. When Winston called me and said, he was starting the Historical Society and would I like to join it and be a founding member, I just thought, this is it, this is my place. And so I have since incorporated my file into the Historical Society files.
And the city files.
And the city files, and just, we had a lot of interesting people living right around us, and celebrities, that you take for granted. I mean, your children go to school with these people. And one of the mothers took me aside and she said, you really should, I want to tell you this because I want you to nip it in the bud, but your little daughter is telling lies, and, it's really not good, and she's getting all the kids, all upset. And I said, what is she telling you? And she's saying that, Chastity lives next door, and Lucille Ball lives up the street, and Buddy Hackett lives around the corner, and she says, and the kids are, not taking this too well. I said, well, but she's right. These aren't stories. And then she said, you mean they live right near you? And it was like a big shock. And I remember when the school used to have open house. And,
that was always a big deal.
We get George Hamilton coming to see his son from Alana, but who was already married to Rod Stewart, bringing their son. And then, all the celebrities. Debbie Reynolds was the scout leader, and I sort of took over after her. And I thought I could never, match her, but I managed to do well with the Scouts. I had Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts at the same time because my first 2 children are a year apart, so I thought it was easier just doing it all at the same time. I made up my program, and I geared it one way to the girls and another way to the boys, and did the same program each week.
Was that through 33?
Well, it was through 33, yeah.
Because I was scoutmaster of that troop. I had no idea you were involved.
Oh, yeah. Well, I
Oh, my
was the den mother for years, it seemed.
Oh, Cub Scouts, sure.
The scout house was like my house.
It's my house.
And then I got called by a writer who asked me to tell him a little about the scout program in Beverly Hills and what's it like, you know, and were there celebrity children in it, and were the children really spoiled. And I told him all these nice stories. I try to make the stories very nice. And then all of a sudden this movie comes out, Troop Beverly Hills, and the scout leader is Phyllis, and it was awful. It was terrible. It
We
was
watched the movie for
terrible.
5 days. My car is in that movie.
Oh, I was so
I was scoutmaster, and I emphasized that we should have a lot of Eagle Scouts. That's why you wanted to be a scout, was to become an Eagle. So suddenly it caught on, and we started getting scouts coming out of our ears, and we had to get another patrol. So the scout, according to the way the scouts rules are, the patrols have names. They're the Eagle Patrol, and the Bear Patrol, and the Wolf Patrol, and so forth. And they wear the patches, round patches. Boys came to me one day. They said, it's time to start a new patrol, and we want to start a new. And I said, fine. I've got a name for it. Yes. They had to pick their own name. They want to call it the Alligator Patrol. That was fine. And they all started to giggle because they were all wearing alligator shirts. So I said, well, you don't want to do that, but maybe, not just off the top of my head, I said, why don't you have a polo patrol? You know, we got polo here in town. One of the kids said, yeah, my uncle is Ralph Lauren. So 6 weeks later, the badges came. They had the polo player on their round, beautifully made, just the colors we'd asked for. So, except that it said Ralph Lauren in big letters on the back.
Small town it was, and not that long ago was I called up the police department and I asked if my Cub Scouts could come and look at the police facility. And they said they would be delighted that they hadn't had another scout den that went through it, and would we like it if they didn't have anyone that they were holding there, because it was just a holding facility, that would the boys like to spend the night? And I thought, this is great. And we were able to have the boys stay overnight in the city jail. I mean,